Hi, hello everybody. This is uh, another session of reading from George Orwell's book, The Animal Farm. Today we are going to be reading chapter 7. So, whoever is watching or is going to watch in the future, very welcome. Hopefully, we'll have as much fun as we have been having in the previous sessions in this session as well. So, I'm joined already by Shravan Kumar Garu, SK Garu, and Sikshardin Garu. Sir and Madam, welcome to the panel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me, and hello.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you,
Hello.
sir.
absolutely, sir.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much, sir. Hello
So
to
today,
everyone.
yeah, so today Sikshardin Garu is going to start with chapter 7. Before that, I'll just give a quick intro of the very last portion of chapter 6, which is the windmill that the animals had tirelessly built uh, has been destroyed in the storm. And Napoleon examined it and then concluded that the windmill fell because of a conspiracy by Snowball, and that the animals are going to rebuild the windmill. So with that said, the link has already been given in the chat. So if anybody wants to join the panel, they're more than welcome. So Sikshardin Garu, please take it away, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, good evening, comrades. So, as we all know, we are in the animal farm where everybody toiled to build the windmill, and under some extraordinary circumstances, the windmill has collapsed. And what Napoleon painted was it was a conspiracy uh, made by our beloved Snowball. So, with that, continue to chapter 7. It was a bitter winter. The stormy weather was followed by sleet and snow, and then by a hard frost which did not break till well into February. The animals carried on as best they could with the rebuilding of the windmill, well knowing that the outside world was watching them and that the envious human beings would rejoice and triumph if the mill were not finished on time. Out of spite, the human beings pretended not to believe that it was Snowball who had destroyed the windmill. They said that it had fallen down because the walls were too thin. The animals knew that this was not the case. Still, it had been decided to build the walls 3 feet thick this time, instead of 18 inches as before, which meant collecting much larger quantities of stone. For a long time, the quarry was full of snowdrifts and nothing could be done. Some progress was made in the dry, frosty weather that followed, but it was a cruel work and the animals could not feel so hopeful about it as they had felt before. They were always cold and usually hungry as well. Only Boxer and Clover never lost heart. Squealer made excellent speeches on the joy of service and the dignity of labor, but the other animals found more inspiration in Boxer's strength and his never failing cry of, I will work harder. In January, food fell short. The corn ration was drastically reduced, and it was announced that an extra potato ration would be issued to make up for it. Then it was discovered that the greater part of the potato crop had been frosted in the clamps, which had not been covered thickly enough. So, just a minute. Davji has entered our panel. Hello, Davji.
Hi, Dauji. How are you?
Hello,
Namaskara.
hello everyone.
Hi.
Right,
Hello,
right.
Raji.
Hello, sir. So, okay. So, in January, food fell short. The corn ration was drastically reduced, and it was announced that an extra potato ration would be issued to make up for it. Then it was discovered that the greater part of the potato crop had been frosted in the clamps, which had not been covered thickly enough. The potatoes had become soft and discolored, and only a few were edible. For days at a time, the animals had nothing to eat but chaff and mangels. Starvation seemed to stare them in the face. It was vitally necessary to conceal this fact from the outside world. Emboldened by the collapse of the windmill, the human beings were inventing fresh lies about Animal Farm. Once again, it was being put about that all the animals were dying of famine and disease, and that they were continually fighting among themselves and had resorted to cannibalism and infanticide. Napoleon was well aware of the bad results that might follow if the real facts of the food situation were known, and he decided to make use of Mr. Whymper to spread a contrary impression. Hitherto, the animals had had little or no contact with Whymper on his weekly visits. Now, however, a few selected animals, mostly sheep, were instructed to remark casually in his hearing that rations had been increased. In addition, Napoleon ordered the almost empty bins in the store shed to be filled nearly to the brim with sand, which was then covered up with that remained of the grain and meal. On some suitable pretext, Whymper was led through the store shed and allowed to catch a glimpse of the bins. He was deceived and continued to report to the outside world that there was no food shortage on Animal Farm. So lies or counter narrative is being spread to the human world. Nevertheless, towards the end of the January, it became obvious that it would be necessary to procure some more grain from somewhere. In these days, Napoleon rarely appeared in public, but spent all his time in the farmhouse. ఓహో అప్పటి నుంచే ఉందా ఇది, which was guarded at each door by fierce-looking dogs. When he when he did emerge, it was in a ceremonial manner, with an escort of 6 dogs who closely surrounded him and growled if anyone came too near. Frequently, he did not even appear on Sunday mornings, but issued his orders through one of the other pigs, usually Squealer. One Sunday morning, Squealer announced that the hens, who had just come in to lay again, must surrender their eggs. Napoleon had accepted, through Whymper, a contract for 400 eggs a week. The price of these would pay for enough grain. The price of these would pay for enough grain and meal to keep the farm going till summer came on. Came on. The price of these would pay for enough grain and meal to keep the farm going till summer came on and conditions were easier. When the hens heard this, they raised a terrible outcry. They had been warned earlier that this sacrifice might be necessary. but had not believed that it would really happen. They were just getting their clutches ready for the spring sitting, and they protested that to take the eggs away, to take the eggs away now was murder. For the first time since the expulsion of Jones, there was something resembling a rebellion, led by three young black Minorca pullets. The hens made a determined effort to thwart Napoleon's wishes. Their method was to fly up to the rafters and there lay their eggs, which smashed to pieces on the floor. Napoleon acted swiftly and ruthlessly. He ordered the hens' rations to be stopped and decreed that any animal giving so much as a grain of corn to a hen should be punished by death. The dogs saw it to the, the dogs saw the dogs saw to it that these orders were carried out. For 5 days the hens held out. Then they capitulated and went back to their nesting boxes. 9 hens had died in the meantime. Their bodies were buried in the orchard, and it was given out that they had died of coccidiosis. Whymper heard nothing of this affair, and the eggs were duly delivered, a grocer's van driving up to the farm once a week to take them away. So there was another cover up where hens had died. All this while, no more had been seen of Snowball. He was rumored to be hiding on one of the neighboring farms, either Foxwood or Pinchfield. Napoleon was by this time on slightly better terms with the other farmers than before. It happened that there was in the yard a pile of timber which had been stacked there 10 years earlier when a beech spinney was cleared. It was well seasoned, and Whymper had advised Napoleon to sell it. Both Mr. Pilkington and Mr. Frederick were anxious to buy it. Napoleon was hesitating between the two, unable to make up his mind. It was noticed that whenever he seemed on the point of coming to an agreement with Frederick, Snowball was declared to be in hiding at Foxwood, while when he inclined toward Pilkington, Snowball was said to be at Pinchfield. Suddenly, early in the spring, an alarming thing was discovered. Snowball was secretly frequenting the farm by night. The animals were so disturbed that they could hardly sleep in their stalls. Every night, it was said, he came creeping in under cover of darkness and performed all kinds of mischief. He stole the corn, he upset the milk pails, he broke the eggs, he trampled the seed beds, he ignored the bark of the fruit trees. Whenever anything went wrong, it became usual to attribute it to Snowball. If a window was broken or a drain was blocked up, someone was certain to say that Snowball had come in the night and done it. And when the key of the store shed was lost, the whole farm was convinced that Snowball had thrown it down the well. Curiously enough, they went on believing this even after the mislaid key was found under a sack of meal. The cows declared unanimously that Snowball crept into their stalls and milked them in their sleep. The rats, which had been troublesome that winter, were also said to be in league with Snowball. So everything that whatever theft or crime
Exactly.
is being painted over Snowball
It's been attributed to
without
Snowball, basically. Yeah.
exactly attributed to Snowball. Napoleon decreed that there should be a full investigation into Snowball's activities. With his dogs in attendance, he set out and made a careful tour of inspection of the farm buildings, the other animals of the farm buildings, the other animals following at a respectful distance. At every few steps, Napoleon stopped and snuffed the ground for traces of Snowball's footsteps, which, he said, he could detect by the smell. He snuffed in every corner, in the barn, in the cowshed, in the hen houses, in the vegetable garden, and found traces of Snowball almost everywhere. He would put his snout to the ground, give several deep sniffs, and exclaim in a terrible voice, "Snowball! He has been here! I can smell him distinctly!" And at the word "Snowball," all the dogs let out blood-curdling growls and showed their side teeth. The animals were thoroughly frightened. It seemed to them as though Snowball were some kind of invisible influence pervading the air about them and menacing them with all kinds of dangers. In the evening, Spieler called them together and with an alarmed expression on his face told them that he had he had some serious news to report. "Comrades," cried Squealer, making little nervous skips, "a most terrible thing has been discovered. Snowball has sold himself to Frederick of Pinchfield Farm, who is even now plotting to attack us and take our farm away from us. Snowball is to act as his guide when the attack begins. But there is worse than that. We had thought that Snowball's rebellion was caused simply by his vanity and ambition. But we were wrong, comrades. Do you know what the real reason was? Snowball was in league with Jones from the very start. He was Jones's secret agent all the time. It has all been proved by documents which he left behind him and which we have only just discovered. To my mind, this explains a great deal, comrades. Did we not see for ourselves how he attempted, fortunately without success, to get us defeated and destroyed at the Battle of the Cowshed?" The animals were stupefied. This was a wickedness far outdoing this was a wickedness far outdoing Snowball's destruction of the window. But it was some minutes before they could fully take it in. They all remembered, or thought they remembered, how they had seen Snowball charging ahead of them at the Battle of the Cowshed, how how he had rallied and encouraged them at every turn, and how he had not paused for an instant even when the pellets from Jones's gun had wounded his back. At first, it was a little difficult to see how this fitted in with his being on Jones's side. Even Boxer who seldom asked questions, was puzzled. He lay down, tucked his forehoofs beneath him, shut his eyes, and with a hard effort managed to formulate his thoughts. "I do not believe that," he said. "Snowball fought bravely at the Battle of the Cowshed. I saw him myself. Did we not give him animal hero first class immediately afterwards? That was our mistake, comrade, for we know now it is all written down in the secret documents that we have found that in reality he was trying to lure us to our doom. But he was wounded, said Boxer. We all saw him running with blood. That was part of the arrangement, cried Squealer. Jones's shot only grazed him. I could show you this in his own writing, if you were able to read it. The plot was for Snowball, at the critical moment, to give the signal for fight and leave the field to the enemy. And he very nearly succeeded. I will even say, comrades, he would have succeeded if it had not been for our heroic leader, Comrade Napoleon. Do you not remember how, just at the moment when Jones and his men had got inside the yard, Snowball suddenly turned and fled, and many animals followed him? And do you not remember, too, that it was just at that moment when panic was spreading and all seemed lost, that Comrade Napoleon sprang forward with a cry of "Death to humanity!" and sank his teeth in Jones's leg. Surely you remember that, comrades? Exclaimed Squealer, frisking from side to side. Now, when Squealer described the scene so graphically, it seemed to the animals that they did remember it. At any rate, they remembered that at the critical moment of battle, Snowball had turned to flee. But Boxer was still a little uneasy. I do not believe that Snowball was a traitor at the beginning, he said finally. What he has done since is different, but I believe that at the Battle of the Cowshed he was a good comrade. Our leader, Comrade Napoleon, announced Squealer, speaking very slowly and firmly, has stated categorically, comrade, that Snowball was Jones's agent from the very beginning. Yes, and from long before the rebellion was ever thought of. From, from long before the rebellion was ever thought of. Ah, that is different, said Boxer. If Comrade Napoleon says it, it must be right. That is the true spirit, comrade, cried Squealer. But it was noticed he cast a very ugly look at Boxer with his little twinkling eyes. He turned to go, then paused and added impressively, I want every animal on this farm to keep his eyes very wide open, for we have reason to think that some of Snowball's secret agents are lurking among us at this moment. 4 days later, in the late afternoon, Napoleon ordered all the animals to assemble in the yard. When they were all gathered together, Napoleon emerged from the farmhouse, wearing both his medals, for he had recently awarded himself Animal Hero First Class and Animal Hero Second Class, with his 9 huge dogs frisking round him and uttering growls that sent shivers down all the animals' spines. They all cowered silently in their places, seeming to know in advance that some terrible thing was about to happen.
Sir, Siksha, then, do you want to take a
Yes, sir.
break? I can read.
No problem, sir. I
You
can
okay?
complete.
All right, cool.
Yeah, sir. So all the animals were afraid just by looking at Napoleon, who was surrounded by his 9 growling dogs. Napoleon stood sternly surveying his audience. Then he uttered a high-pitched whimper. Immediately the dogs bounded forward, seized 4 of the pigs by the ear, and dragged them, squealing with pain and terror, to Napoleon's feet. The pig's ears were bleeding, the dogs had tasted blood, and for a few moments they appeared to go quite mad. To the amazement of everybody, 3 of them flung themselves upon Boxer. Boxer saw them coming and put out his great hoof, caught a dog in midair, and pinned him to the ground. The dog shrieked for mercy, and the other 2 fled with their tails between their legs. Boxer looked at Napoleon to know whether he could crush the dog to death or let it go. Napoleon appeared to change countenance, and sharply ordered Boxer to let the dog go. Whereat Boxer lifted his hoof, and the dog slunk away, bruised and howling. Presently the tumult died down. The 4 pigs waited, trembling, with guilt written on every line of their countenances. Napoleon now called upon them to confess their crimes. They were the same 4 pigs as had protested when Napoleon abolished the Sunday meetings. Without any further prompting, they confessed that they had been secretly in touch with Snowball ever since his expulsion, that they had collaborated with him in destroying the windmill, and that they had entered into an agreement with him to hand over Animal Farm to Mr. Frederick. They added that Snowball had privately admitted to them that he had been Jones's secret agent for years past. When they had finished their confession, the dogs promptly tore their throats out, and in a terrible voice, Napoleon demanded whether any other animal had anything to confess. The 3 hens, who had been the ringleaders in the attempted rebellion over the eggs, now came forward and stated that Snowball had appeared to them in a dream and incited them to disobey Napoleon's orders. They too were slaughtered. Then a goose came forward and confessed to having secreted 6 ears of corn during the last year's harvest and eaten them in the night. Then a sheep confessed to have urinated in the drinking pool, urged to do this, so she said, by Snowball. And 2 other sheep confessed to having murdered an old ram, an especially devoted follower of Napoleon, by chasing him round and round a bonfire when he was suffering from a cough. They were all slain on the spot, and so the tale of confessions and executions went on until there was a pile of corpses lying before Napoleon's feet, and the air was heavy with the smell of blood, which had been unknown, which had been unknown there since the expulsion of Jones. When it was all over, The remaining animals, except for the pigs and dogs, crept away in a body. They were shaken and miserable. They did not know which was more shocking, the treachery of the animals who had leagued themselves with Snowball, or the cruel retribution they had just witnessed. In the old days, there had often been scenes of bloodshed equally terrible, but it seemed to all of them that it was far worse now than it was happening among themselves. Since Jones had left the farm until today, no animal had killed another animal. Not even a rat had been killed. They had made their way onto the little knoll where the half-finished windmill stood, and with one accord they all lay down as though huddling together for warmth. Clover, Muriel, Benjamin, the cows, the sheep, and a whole flock of geese and hens, everyone, indeed, except the cat, who had suddenly disappeared just before Napoleon ordered the animals to assemble. For some time nobody spoke. Only Boxer remained on his feet. He fidgeted to and fro, swishing his long black tail against his sides and occasionally uttering a little whinny of surprise. Finally he said, "I do not understand it. I would not have believed that such things could happen on our farm. It must be due to some fault in ourselves. The solution, as I see it, is to work harder. From now onwards, I shall get up a full hour earlier in the mornings." And he moved off at his lumbering trot and made for the quarry. Having got there, he collected two successive loads of stone and dragged them down to the windmill before retiring for the night. The animals huddled about Clover, not speaking. The knoll where they were lying gave them a wide prospect across the countryside. Most of the most of the animal farm was within their view. The long pasture stretching down to the main road, the hayfield, the spinney, the drinking pool, the ploughed fields where the young wheat was thick and green, and the red roofs of the farm buildings with the smoke curling from the chimneys. It was a clear spring evening. Uh, Excuse me, sir. Just a minute. Just a second, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Sorry, sir. So
Yeah,
it was a clear spring evening. The grass and the bursting hedges were gilded by the level rays of the sun. Never had the farm, and with a kind of surprise they remembered that it was their own farm, every inch of it their own property, appeared to the animals so desirable a place. As Clover looked down the hillside, her eyes filled with tears. If she could have spoken her thoughts, it would have been to say that this was not what they had aimed at when they had set themselves years ago to work for the overthrow of the human race. These scenes of terror and slaughter were not what they had looked forward to on that night when old Major first stirred them to rebellion. If she herself had had any picture of the future, it had been of a society of animals set free from hunger and the weak, all equal, each working according to his capacity, the strong protecting the weak, as she had protected the lost brood of ducklings with her forelegs on the night of Major's speech. Instead, she did not know why they had come to a time when no one dared speak his mind, when fierce, growling dogs roamed everywhere, and when you had to watch your comrades and when you had to watch your comrades torn to pieces after confessing to shocking crimes. There was no thought of rebellion or disobedience in her mind. She knew that even as things were, they were far better off than they had been in the days of Jones, and that before all else, it was needful to prevent the return of the human beings. Whatever happened, she would remain faithful, work hard, carry out the orders that were given to her, and accept the leadership of Napoleon. But still, it was not for this that she and all the other animals had hoped and toiled. It was not for this that they had built the windmill and faced the bullets of Jones's gun. Such were her thoughts, though she lacked the words to express them. At last, feeling this to be in some way a substitute for the words she was unable to find, she began to sing Beasts of England. The other animals sitting around her took it up, and they sang it 3 times over, very tunefully, but slowly and mournfully, in a way they had never sung it before. They had just finished singing it for the third time when Squealer, attended by 2 dogs, approached them with the air of having something important to say. He announced that, by a special decree of Comrade Napoleon, beasts of England had been abolished. From now onwards, it was forbidden to sing it. The animals, the animals were taken aback. Why? Cried Muriel. It's no longer needed, comrade, said Squealer stiffly. Beasts of England was the song of the rebellion, but the rebellion is now completed. The execution of the traitors this afternoon was the final act. The enemy, both external and internal, has been defeated. In Beasts of England, we expressed our longing for a better society in days to come. But that society has now been established. Clearly, this song has no longer any purpose. Frightened though they were, some of the animals might possibly have protested, but at this moment the sheep set up their usual bleating of 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, which went on for several minutes and put an end to the discussion. So Beasts of England was heard no more. In its place, Minimus, the poet, had composed another song which began, Animal farm, never, never through me shall thou come to harm. And this was sung every Sunday morning after the hoisting of the flag. But somehow neither the words nor the tune ever seemed to the animals to come up to Beasts of England. This is the end of chapter 7.
A wonderful comrade. Wonderful.
This is a very
Comrades,
sad chapter. I don't know
sad,
if
sad
Sikshardhan
chapter.
Garu and Dahoji, please, with your comments first, and then I'll
Wonderful,
speak in the end. Yeah,
wonderful Sikshadhan,
Yeah, thank you.
and thank you also.
yeah. Please give your impressions. I felt
Yes,
very sad when I read this yesterday. You know.
Yeah, it is sad. And
yeah,
as boxer, I would say that, like, because I represent boxer and I love boxer. For him, I feel very sad because he is just like I will work harder and more harder and more harder.
yeah.
Just very sad.
Yeah, but that's not going to change anything because that only works when everybody else in the society is working hard honestly, right? But
Yes.
unfortunately, now the farm has been taken over by some very, very devious kind of people or the animals. And in those
Mm.
kind of situations, it doesn't help.
Yeah, I know.
So one more thing, what I observed in this chapter was the slow transformation, the very slow, actually, the very slow transformation of Napoleon not being equal to all other animals. I mean, he's taken over the farmhouse and he is ruling from the farmhouse and all well guarded by his dogs and every narrative what the farm animals need to hear is being designed by uh, Napoleon. And
Yes.
whenever he comes out in a way that everybody looks dreadfully at him
Mm.
with all his sidekick dogs and
Yes.
all that freedom, all that equality, the freedom of speech being snatched away from every other animal
Yeah.
is
Now
quite
chapter
evident.
7.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
and the number
In
seven,
chapter seven,
Yedu,
it's like, uh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So in Telugu, the number seven is called Yedu. Okay, so it resembles to the word crying, Yedupu. Okay, so
Mm.
It's a very tragic chapter.
tragic, very very
Masala for
tragic,
a
and
reason.
Yeah,
the all the slaughtering that went on was the kind of horror they must have experienced just before their eyes, their own friends being slaughtered in front of their own eyes. That is very very. I mean,
painful.
it's not just tragic. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Dahoji,
horrific.
please go ahead. You were saying
Yeah.
something. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just
Please.
saying that, like, now in chapter 7, Animal Farm just stops pretending to be a cute farmyard rebellion. And now it's turned into full blown dictatorship horror. You know,
Exactly.
food is
Exactly,
scarce,
exactly.
winter is brutal, and I love Napoleon. Napoleon is like running the place like a paranoid mafia boss. I can kill
Yeah,
anybody. If anyone
yeah.
sneezes in wrong direction, I will execute that person.
Why?
And
Dahoji, if
then
you,
like that is snowball,
yeah,
man. Yes.
yeah, if you have
What happened?
seen on YouTube, there is one video, and again, this is
Hmm.
a different country, not the original comrade country, but similar ideology, right?
Hmm.
Have you seen Saddam Hussein?
Hmm.
There is one meeting. I mean, the Baath Party was actually
Hmm.
communist,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
basically, right? Literally, this happened where he calls out certain people from the crowd, and then the police come and take them away,
Yep. Hmm.
right? It's
Sir,
unbelievable. Yeah.
And
sir,
and
if you,
Snowball is yes.
sir, if you can please paste that link in the comments, sir.
Oh, the Saddam Hussein one? I will. Yeah,
Yeah,
Tawji, go
yeah,
ahead, sir.
yes. Go ahead, sir. All good.
Yeah. No, I was saying that Snowball is like a villain without it. For Snowball, it's like a villain arc without a villain. Like anything happen, it's like Snowball. Okay, anything happen. Snowball is like a
Yes,
scapegoat.
yes.
Like in chapter 6, also, like we said that he is using him as a scapegoat. The political
Yeah.
version of the like the dog ate my homework types.
Correct.
Yeah, and Squiller, mind blowing character. He and his lies,
Of course,
man.
of course, of course. Spiller is
You
one of
are
the
not,
most favorite.
bro. You are not starving, bro. You are not starving.
Yeah.
You are doing
Mm,
intermediate fasting. You are not. You're not
mm,
dying because of hunger. You are just doing intermediate fasting. It's a way to uprise. When
mm.
I say nobody believes, but when Squirrel say everybody believes
Yes,
because
true.
he's just a very good storyteller. That's why
I wouldn't say
best storyteller, I would say.
storyteller. He's a
Hmm.
narrative builder. Good narrative
Hmm,
builder.
hmm, hmm. Yep.
It is more dangerous. Storytelling is
Yeah.
some other thing. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. The real tragedy, I would say, boxer, the hardest working fool on the farm.
True.
He believes that working harder will fix everything. A classic case of employee loyalty being rewarded with nothing. Classic case. And Skiller is like,
Yeah,
do work, do work. He was like, I will work harder, I will work harder.
yeah. Mm. Shravan sir.
It's a hard chapter.
Mm.
Just hard chapter.
Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Sir, sir, why you're calling sir, sir?
Why not? We are
Sir,
entitled, so I'm
please
calling you.
share. అయ్యో అట్లాగేంటి సార్ సార్ ప్లీజ్ షేర్ యువర్ వాల్యుబుల్
అదేం లేదు బా. నథింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ మై
అయ్యో
సైడ్.
సార్ ప్లీజ్ టెల్ సంథింగ్ సార్ అట్లీస్ట్
అట్లానే
couple of things at
పర్టికులర్
least.
థింగ్ ఈజ్ అన్ it is a realistic interpretation of the author's perspective on pure communism, how it started and how it is progressing.
Yep.
So I actually basically know most of it, so it's not a surprise for me. But author is no very wonderful actually in writing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful
yeah.
Yes.
writing, really.
Yeah, because
Yes,
in
yes.
this chapter, na, like it's become uncomfortably real.
Yep.
Very real.
Exactly. So all the stage has been set, and you can only see
Hmm.
this coming. If you are experienced enough, you'll know what's coming next, and it comes, right? And it's
Yeah.
worse than what
Mm.
you imagined it to be. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then like next chapters, more said I like no spoiler, but
No, no, go ahead.
boxer
It's all
man.
good. Yeah.
No, just like boxer, I feel sad for boxer every time I just think about this book. I just
Yeah.
feel very sad about boxer because
Yeah.
he was just trying to work hard and do something good for everyone.
Yeah. That's
He
your
wanted to
average.
just retire peacefully, na?
Correct. Basically, that's your
Yeah,
average person, right?
yeah.
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 That's why I represent that character. I love that character very
Yeah.
much. And when man Snowball man at this point, na Snowball is not even a character anymore in
It's a
the story,
mythical
but he
villain.
just yeah mythical villain because crops failed Snowball, tools broken Snowball, and bad Wi-Fi definitely Snowball.
Correct. Yeah. No, no. We our
Like
neighboring country does that, right? For everything,
yeah, yeah,
साजिश भारत का
anything bad
साजिश
happen. Sajish. Yeah, Bharat ka. Even in cricket, have you seen that video in cricket that India brought some pandits. I love that video, man. I was like, oh man. I put it in story also in Instagram. Like, see this, what they are saying.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's called The Purge
uh,
of 1979, right? Just go to YouTube and search. I pasted a link. There are many links, right? It
mm,
is no different from exactly what we just read in Animal Farm. Okay, I'm not blaming one
mm.
person or anything, but there is such a thing called power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
Corrupts, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So any country or a set of people should be very careful when they give extraordinary powers to a single person without accountability. Okay, and that includes even democratic countries like US and India and pick a country in Western
Mm.
Europe or Australia. It doesn't matter, right? You know, it
Uh,
doesn't take too much for things to turn in the bad direction, basically.
yeah. And the thing that like they say, surely, comrade, you do not want Jones back.
Yeah,
That that I can see in real world also, like in many ways, not even physical things. Every day you are being taught to be afraid. Not you are not
correct.
afraid of this thing, but you are being taught to be afraid of this thing. That if you do this, this will happen. But now because of the education, because of the things we can see in internet, we know this is not bad. But we
Correct.
are taught to that like you cannot do this, and you should
Yeah,
not do this. You should not talk to this, and like
yeah. Fear is a very powerful weapon.
tool. Yes.
Yeah,
Sir,
Mm.
sir, I will draw a parallel, sir, as I have always been. I will. So, if you don't support us, Manusmriti will come back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, that is the what do you call
Yes.
prevailing thought, right?
Prevailing thought. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Manusmriti will come back. The rule of the church also will come back. We are absolutely fine with it if it happens. Let it happen. And the rule of the Islam book, the Shariat also will come back. Let
will
it
come
come.
back. Yeah,
Will come back.
Yeah. Mughal will rule you again. Muslim will rule you.
correct.
And the Mughals today are driving rickshaws. They are
No,
busy in that. So leave
no,
Mughals
but
in
if
their own peace.
Muslim, if no, but if Muslim population go up like more and more, then Mughal will not drive rickshaws. They will
No, no,
rule the
no.
country.
See, when this comes, let us assume it comes back. You will have Taimur, you have
Yeah,
Aurangzeb. Those kind of people still exist.
yeah,
Kada. So they will be adults at that time. So they will try to rule.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
if, there was
mm,
a funny incident during that when the original the Ram Mandir deal, they tried to broker a deal, but it didn't work. There was one guy who came on television, some Tusi or something, right? And this guy claimed to be he had an order. He had
mm,
like a tablet or some kind of a plaque from the Supreme Court of India.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen that
yeah,
video. Yeah.
saying that he is actually the descendant of Bahadur Shah Zafar, basically, right?
Oh,
And that guy was claiming that he owns the Red Fort and he owns all these things. And then he actually came and said, I donate the
mm.
land to the Ramajan Bhumi Silanyas or committee or whatever it is, and then they can do whatever they want with that land.
oh my God.
Yeah, and everybody was making fun of him. It's like, when was the last time you held Darbar, sir? We are all your courtesans. Please order us what to do and things like that. Yeah.
Super.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, we're
Oh,
almost coming to the end of this reading. 8, 9, 10, 3 more chapters to go, right? So
yes, sir.
Yes.
yeah, so Daji, what we are planning on doing is for the next reading, we'll continue the reading sessions. We are thinking of starting Sophie's Choice, basically, based on your suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also a
Yep.
good,
Yep.
it
I am up
aligns
for
with
it.
the, yeah, absolutely. And we are up for it as well because it aligns with the theme of the channel currently also, right? Exploring ideologies and
Yeah.
philosophies, right?
Mm.
So, and it's a good read.
If you are
Yeah,
if you are interested, every Tuesday at around 10:30, there we are
Mm.
reading the Sultana's Dream. If you are interested, you can join that also in a different channel, Manabharati.
Sul-
I'll send
Sultana's
you the
Dream.
link
yeah.
in Telegram. Yeah,
Lawyer Garu will send you the link, so you can join. That
yeah,
is
I'll
also
send you the
English
link
Okay.
now.
directly.
Yeah,
If you are
Mm-hmm.
interested, you can join that day, that session also.
In English, na?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
that is English. So
I
Sophie's
will
Choice will
definitely join,
be
but not this week. This week I have two marriages to like what we say.
attend.
Attend,
What we say?
attend to.
I can't attend. Yeah.
Mm.
See, I'm not able to remember them,
So
but
are you
Bharat
attend.
mein jana.
are you going to be in the Bharat or not?
Yeah. Yeah. One Bharat and one like bride side.
Oh,
So
reception
two
basically.
marriages. One is like my best friend. Yeah. So one is my best friend on fourth and fourth. Sorry, five. And another one is from so, like seven. He is also my friend.
Very cool.
So
अरे दाऊ जी, अगर आपको
hmm.
इंग्लिश में बोलना ज्यादा तकलीफ लगे हुई तो आप हिंदी में भी बोल सकते हो.
Yeah,
No, no, no problem.
yeah, yeah.
Here and
Either
As
way.
I said earlier,
doesn't
na,
matter.
I have no issue with like I have no problem talking in English. He
Hmm.
will have problem to understand in understanding. I have no problem in speaking
Right, right.
because my English is that
Okay.
my English is that top level that
Will
normal
not be able
people
to understand.
will never understand it.
Well,
They just
Sikshardin
try to understand.
Dawji must be
So,
right because he's always right.
yeah,
No man, I will work
Daoji
I
must be
will
right.
work harder. Okay, I'm only I'm here only to work harder.
Exactly.
If he says Daoji, it is what
Hmm.
it is, then
It
it
must
is
be right.
right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. So on that note, I think we'll close for today. And Dawji, thanks for coming again. We appreciate your point of view as always. Right. And we'll go to
Thank
chapter
you.
8 and then, yeah, Sophie's Choice, we'll start preparing for it. And then as soon as Animal Farm is over, starting the next week, we'll start Sophie's Choice.
Yeah,
And
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
yes, please.
Like the question was like, what do you think about Benjamin? Like
Oh,
he,
Benjamin is Sikshardin, so he has to comment, not me.
yeah, because
So,
I
yeah.
Benjamin knew that the like la- truth behind the lie, but he didn't do anything. He should have, or I
Yeah.
think.
See,
What do you think about this character?
Benjamin,
What's your view?
I think, Benjamin is a very peculiar character because he must have seen
Hmm.
all these things happen throughout his life, and he was not. I think
Yes.
he is not surprised that these things are happening in the due course of
Hmm.
because I think he must have seen all these even before mm, Jones or some other people taking over the farm or something like that. So
Yes.
I don't think Benjamin was surprised, and Benjamin is not affected by the things that are happening around him. He is very.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, he knows this things will come to this, and
Yes.
then he is not surprised. That is, and he just
Hmm.
goes on and does what he do.
Hmm.
He's not interested. I'd say he's the very example of Advaita follower. That
We
is
are
my
living in a
opinion.
myth. We are living in
Yeah,
myth.
all this is Maya, I know
Yeah.
my true self, what I am,
Jagat Mithya,
and
Brahma Satyam.
Exactly.
Jagat Mithya. Yes,
Correct.
Hmm.
exactly.
Mm,
Yeah, but yes, I need a loyal PR as a skriller, man. I need that. If I had Squiller now, I would have been Prime Minister. Yeah. Sometimes
yeah.
I think I just need a squirrel, then I can be anything.
Right.
True.
Well,
Don't you
that's
think so?
the yeah. That's the whole. That's the fourth pillar, right? So-called fourth pillar.
Yeah.
Exactly, sir.
Fourth pillar.
Fourth pillar, fourth
I
state.
understand. I understand where you are going with that.
Fourth pillar of democracy. Yeah.
Of course,
Oh,
sir. Of
God.
course. Of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fourth
Uh,
pillar.
yeah, exactly. We know way too much about it, especially in India. You know.
Hmm.
So true. And we, okay, I would not make such comments, but please, yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
very answer.
Yeah. I think
So,
we'll close, sir. Raji, thanks
yeah, sure,
again.
sir.
Shardhan Garu, thank you very much for reading. Lar Garu, thanks for
Yes, sir. Thank you
participating.
very much for
Yeah.
giving me this opportunity to read, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.